It was a dark, windless night when Arif's motorcycle came to a halt near the edge of the old road that led to the ruins of Haveli. The fog had grown thick, and the moonlight struggled to pierce through the gray mist. Arif checked his phone, no signal, of course. The clock struck midnight. He had heard about this place from the locals in the nearby village of Kandalahau. The Haveli was cursed. How anyone who dared enter never came out the same again. Some said it was the home of a jinn, bound there for centuries, waiting for someone foolish enough to disturb his slumber. Arif, however, didn't believe in such things. He was a vlogger running a small YouTube channel called Urban Shadows, where he explored supposedly haunted places and tried to uncover the truth behind the myths. Tonight he had come prepared with his camera, torch, and recorder. Let's see what secrets this place hides, he whispered to himself as he walked toward the massive iron gates of Haveli. The gate creaked open with a sound that echoed across the emptiness. Death swirled around as Arif stepped inside. The Haveli loomed before him like a sleeping beast, its broken windows staring like hollow eyes, its corridors dark and cold. He began recording, narrating in his usual confident tone. Guys, today I'm standing inside the haunted Haveli. They say a jinn lives here, one who was once summoned by the Nawab himself. He laughed lightly, trying to sound fearless, but his hands trembled slightly. The deeper he went, the more the air grew heavy. The smell of decay mixed with the faint scent of something burnt. A sudden sound like whispering echoed from the end of the hall. Arif froze. Lovely the wind, he muttered, switching his torch toward the sound. The beam of light caught a broken mirror hanging on the wall. For a moment he saw his reflection, but there was something else behind him. A shadow standing unnaturally still. Arif spun around. Nothing. The silence returned, thick and suffocating. He laughed nervously into the camera again. Okay, that was creepy, he said, pretending to brush it off. He moved further, entering what seemed like an old prayer room. The walls were covered with strange marking symbols he had never seen before. In the center was a blackened circle drawn on the floor with ashes, and inside it, some kind of burnt offering. Looks like someone was doing black magic here, he said, bending down to examine it. As he touched the ashes, the air shifted. The temperature dropped sharply. His breath became visible. Then, from behind him, the voice spoke low and distorted. You shouldn't have come here. Arif froze. His torch flickered. He turned slowly, and there, in the dim glow, stood a tall, blue-skinned figure with glowing white eyes and horns curling upward like those of a beast. Arif stumbled back, dropping his camera. The creature stepped forward, its gaze piercing straight through him. Who are you? Arif managed to stammer. The creature's voice rumbled like thunder. I am bound to this place by the sins of man. Arif tried to run, but the Haveli seemed endless now. The corridors stretched and twisted. Every door led to another dark hall. The whispers grew louder and shadows moved on their own. His flashlight died, plunging him into total darkness. Arif screamed for help, banging on doors that wouldn't open. He could hear the creature's footsteps behind him, slow, deliberate, powerful. Why me? He cried out. Because you called to me, the voice said. Suddenly, the walls of the Haveli began to bleed dark liquid, the air thick with the scent of iron. Arif fell to the ground, clutching his chest, whispering prayers. Then silence. Only the sound of the wind outside remained. When morning came, the locals found his motorcycle still parked near the gate, camera lying beside it, recording lights still blinking. When they played back the footage, the final frame showed Arif running, his face twisted in terror, and behind him, a dark shadow with glowing eyes filling the frame before the video cut out. From that day onward, the villagers swore they could hear faint cries echoing from the Haveli at night, and sometimes a whisper saying, "You woke me." Those who dared to go near claimed their dreams were haunted by a blue-skinned figure, calling. 2 years had passed since Arif vanished, but his videos had gone viral. People debated whether it was real or staged. Among his followers was Zara, his younger sister, had always admired his courage, but something about that last video disturbed her deeply. She could feel that it wasn't a prank. One evening, unable to bear the mystery anymore, Zara decided to uncover the truth. With a small crew of her own, she set out for Haveli. The villagers tried to stop her, warning her that the place was cursed. Your brother called upon something ancient, said an old man. The Jinn does not forget those who disturb his domain. Zara ignored them, determined to find answers. If Arif is alive, I'll bring him back, she said firmly. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Zara and her team reached the gates. Just like before, they creaked open as if welcoming them. The Haveli looked even more decayed now, vines crawling over the walls. The air thick with rot. They set up cameras and lights, documenting every corner. We'll stay for one night only, she told her team. But as night deepened, the equipment started malfunctioning. Batteries drained in minutes, lights flickered. One of her friends, Imran, began hearing whispers. Zara, someone's calling my name. She brushed it off at first, thinking it was fear playing tricks, but soon she too began to hear faint murmurs. The same phrase again and again, you woke me. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from upstairs. They ran toward the sound and found a room, filled with symbols drawn in black, the same ones from Arif's footage. In the center lay a burnt diary. It was Arif's handwriting. The last entry read, I saw him. The Jinn is real. He wants freedom. Zara's hands trembled as she read. The air began to pulse and a deep humming filled the walls. He knows you're here, whispered Imran. The lights burst, plunging them into darkness. A cold wind blew through the corridor, carrying the faint sound of chains dragging across the floor. Arif, Zara called softly. For a moment she thought she saw him standing at the end of the hall. She ran toward him, but it wasn't Arif, it was the Jinn. The creature towered above her, eyes glowing white in the dark. Your blood calls me again, it hissed. He summoned me. Now you have come to finish what he began, Zara screamed as the walls began to twist, and the floor cracked open beneath her. Her friends fled, but the Haveli's door slammed shut. Shadows formed human shapes, whispering prayers and curses in languages no one understood. The Jinn moved closer, his face half hidden in mist. Why are you bound here? Zara cried. Because of greed, the Jinn replied. Your ancestor, Nawab Shamshur, trapped me here centuries ago using dark magic, promising release through a bloodline ritual. Every generation that steps into this place brings me closer to freedom, Zara's eyes widened in horror. Arif, he was part of that. The Jinn smiled. He was the key, and now you are the seal. The ground shook violently. Zara clutched the diary to her chest and shouted, You'll never be free. She recited verses she remembered from her grandmother's prayers. The Jinn roared, his form flickering, twisting into smoke and flame. The entire Haveli shook as light erupted from its core. When it was over, the building stood silent again, half its structure turned to ash. Zara was gone. The villagers found only her camera outside the gate, still recording, her voice echoing faintly, the Jinn is real. Never come here. From that day, no one dared to enter Shamshur Haveli again. It remains abandoned, but sometimes travelers report seeing a figure near the gate, a woman in white, holding a camera, whispering into the night. And behind her, if you look closely, glowing white eyes watch from the shadows.